Hi, my name is Elena Greider, and this is a presentation of my action research called What Knowledge Do Mainstream Elementary Teachers of EL Students Have About the Effects of Trauma on Academic Development, and How Does It Impact Their Trauma-Informed Teaching Practices? I currently teach 5th grade math and science at Cedar Grove Elementary. Cedar Grove Elementary is a kindergarten through 5th grade school that is located in Panama City, Florida. The school has a total of 630 students, and of that total are 74 ELL or English Language Learner students. On October 10th of 2018, the Category 5 Hurricane Michael made landfall in the city and created a lot of destruction in the communities. Most families were traumatized from the natural disaster. At Georgetown College, I am pursuing a degree in teacher leadership with an ELL endorsement. And for my Capstone research course, I wanted to further my knowledge in how to support students who experience childhood trauma in the county where I teach. The study of trauma will explain what trauma-informed strategies best support the development of students, which will positively impact the population at this school. A literature review was conducted to understand previous research relevant to my research question. Each piece of literature was thematically organized as shown in Table 1. Effects of trauma on K-12 students, how to support EL families and students in trauma-informed school, and language and academic development after trauma. My action research will use a qualitative design because it is used to understand the experiences and knowledge of the effects of trauma in trauma-informed strategies. Data will be collected through surveys, interviews, and written response questions. And after all data is collected, it will be analyzed by coding and identifying themes. To achieve reliable results, all themes will be triangulated. And once they are identified, it will allow me to generate suggestions for the school and education profession. 6 teachers from Cedar Grove were a part of the study and were selected based upon their experience working with ELL students. To protect the participant, each person was given a consent form and a number. All digital data that is stored on the computer, phone, cloud, and audio recordings is protected by an encrypted password, and all paper documents will be stored in a locked storage cabinet. All digital data and all paper documents will be destroyed on May 1st of this year. To better understand the teacher's knowledge of the effects of trauma and the strategies they use to support their students, years of experience and content area was collected. In Figure 1, most teachers had 1 to 5 years of experience working with EL students and taught all content areas, which would be reading, math, science, and social studies. However, 2 teachers had 6 or more years with this group of students, and 2 teachers taught specific subject areas. The interview, survey, and written response questions were created before conducting the interview. The written response and survey were completed on separate Google Form links, and the interview were scheduled and completed in person or over the phone. Interviews were recorded using the iPhone voice memo app, and the Timmy online software was used to upload and transcribe the voice recordings. The transcriptions were then revised to make sure they were accurate before it was analyzed. All data collected was copied and pasted into a 3-column Google document to be coded, and all digital data again is protected through a strong password on Google Drive. Data was analyzed by finding common themes found in each data instrument. The common themes were further analyzed to see which overall theme or meta-theme was found in all data. A second literature table was created to discover new findings based upon the meta-themes that is connected to the research question. As shown in Table 2, the coding map shows the steps used to analyze the data for each survey, written response, and interview. After each data was collected, I copied and pasted it into a Google Doc. I then read through all responses line by line and highlighted for common words or phrases. I grouped the words together into my initial codes or themes: meaning of trauma, effects of trauma, triggers, and strategy. From there, I refined the first codes or themes into specific categories. So emotional effect, mental effect of trauma are subcategories of effects of trauma. Trauma-informed teacher strategies and self-regulated strategies for students were subcategories for strategy. So based on the second group of codes, I looked for common themes that appeared more frequently. And for the survey, that was emotional effects of trauma, mental effects of trauma, trauma-informed teaching practices, and self-regulated strategies for students. Table 3, which is the written response analysis, and Table 4, which is the interview analysis, are showing the and detailed versions of the common coding map. Mental effects of trauma, as shown in Table 3, would have been the refined code from the coding map. In the mental effects of trauma, the participants said that they believe students show low self-esteem, they were easily discouraged, and would go into another state of mind or fantasy. Under physical effects of trauma, most participants observed uncommon or drastic changes in behavior, which would have been like punching, shoving, or any reactive behavior. Under trauma-informed teaching strategies, most participants encouraged their students. They used stress-relieving strategies like yoga, taking short walks, even using circle time as some strategies. They reassured they are there for the student. They encourage students to talk to a trusted adult and have the students sit near the adult, whether it's at the desk, teacher's desk, or if it was at lunch. Lastly, under triggers, most teachers observed that bad weather and practice drills reminded students of their trauma. And people that cause drama, like talking behind their back about the student, can cause the student to show negative behavior. Under Table 4, for mental effects of trauma, some of the mentioned, some of the same physical effect, students are highly reactive, or that teachers observed uncommon or drastic changes in behavior as shown in physical effects of trauma. Under trauma-informed teaching strategies, teachers still believe that stress-relieving strategies work best. Teachers give constant encouragement. Under triggers, bad weather and Hurricane Michael remind students of their trauma. And under mental effects of trauma, students are easily discouraged. They have a specific image stuck in their head. And like I said, those are just some examples of similar responses that were found in the interview that I also saw in the written response analysis. After I found the common themes from each data instrument, I placed all themes into one table to find which theme was repeated in all data. Mental effects of trauma and trauma-informed teaching strategies were the themes that were repeated the most, which are called meta-themes. Next, I created a statement based on what I learned from the meta-themes, called findings. Under mental effects of trauma, the finding that I learned was that teachers have a strong knowledge on how mental effects of trauma impact academic development. And under trauma-informed teaching strategies, teachers have a strong knowledge of trauma-informed teaching strategies. For mental effects of trauma, the skill set needed to perform on grade level are affected. Focus, skills, motivation, keeping pace with rigorous tasks, and perseverance are affected. Mental effects of trauma not only affect the academic development and performance, but also impact students' self-esteem and concept of the world. So some students will protect themselves by using survivor behaviors. For example, children will imagine different fantasies or realities, not trust others, and believe they are not worthy of a better situation to cope with pain or confusion. Secondly, teachers have a strong knowledge of trauma-informed teacher strategies. Again, stress-relieving techniques such as yoga, breathing, calming scents and tools was the preferred method discussed in all of the data instruments. Teacher encouragement and praise and talking to a trusted teacher or other professional were the next best methods found in the study. Table 6 represents how the findings from this action research connect to other research studies reviewed. According to Aclompian, Hunt, and Blitz, they concluded that trauma-informed strategies are powerful in reducing effects of trauma. The more personalized the trauma intervention is, the more likely it will help the student recover and heal. Under Goodman, Miller, West Olanji, Klompian, and Brenzel, they concluded that students that are exposed to trauma are more likely to have long-term mental health problems and will have a difficult time concentrating and performing well academically. Students may also experience language and other cognitive delays and may lack the ability to relieve and respond to stress, which also can impact their learning and academic development. To conclude my action research, my study found that most teachers did not see specific effects of trauma in their ELL or English language learner students. For future practice, I would interview refugee students or teachers that have experience working with those students to understand the effects of trauma on academic development of EL students. In addition, to fully understand the effects of trauma, it is equally important to have enough time to conduct and analyze data collected. Next, the following list of recommendations can be used to not only help Cedar Grove Elementary, but all schools overall to become a stronger trauma-informed school. First, the school needs to have a framework in place to assess trauma to avoid misdiagnosis and misuse of interventions. It is recommended to use the students exposed to trauma, or the SSET. It is a culturally responsive intervention that can be used with groups of students that are still recovering from their trauma. It was created to help reduce effects of trauma and improve academic performance. This program offers free intervention resources for teachers, training for them, and also the actual manual to implement the program. Each teacher should also have a safety plan. A safety plan is a personalized intervention plan that the teacher and student will complete together. In the plan, the student will describe or state times when the student feels they are about to have an outburst, whether it's emotionally or behaviorally, and will describe triggers that can escalate their behavior or resurface their trauma. Lastly, the teacher and student will decide on a word or action to let the teacher know when they are about to be at the limit. Again, the main point is to have strong communication with that student so you can understand where they are and how you can help them. And then my last suggestion is the school and teachers need to have access to EL liaisons or community programs that can support EL students and families experiencing trauma.